Alas, there is time for ruminating. Hello, this is Lee the History Boy, and yes, of course, you'll see by the intro, or have seen, time is relative after all, kind of. Yeah, this is another Ruminations video, and also partly a potential coming up for a Let's Open a Book episode, because I like to do the whole audio book style thing. It's always been like a sort of comfort kind of YouTube project of mine, doing that kind of stuff, you know, ever since I listened to audiobooks as a wee lad. First with the Horrid Henry audiobooks, and then the Roald Dahl audiobooks. They're really good. They're my favourite. I highly recommend them. More so the Roald Dahl ones, because I mean, his books span through the 70s and 80s and maybe even 60s as well, early 60s as well, depending on, like, Tales of Unexpected, which is more like adult fiction and spooky stuff and consequences. But, like, for example, you know, the republishings of The Witches, Danny the Champion of the World, which actually I've yet to see the film version of that. One interesting tidbit about that is that the father and son in that are actually father and son. It's Jeremy Irons and one of his sons, and Robbie Coltrane Hagrid is the awful groundskeeper, Victor Hazel. That's another one. That's a favourite of mine, read in audiobook form by Timothy West. May he rest in peace. But yeah, let's crack on about the Ruminations and the book idea. Now, it's sort of like alternate history. Like, what if? It's not so much what if Generalissimo Franco immediately decided to join the Nazis when there was almost a war, like a mini war over Gibraltar, fighting the UK over Gibraltar, which is still kind of contested. But things seem to be fine now. But that was inspired also by a Channel 5 documentary I was watching about life on the Rock, in Gibraltar. People were feeding macaques. Seems very, very nice there. If you like climbing up things, which I'd be a bit pensive of, which is why I probably prefer Malta, the other territory, or former territory, whatever. But yeah, that was all the way back in 39. Think late 39, the very first year of World War II. But they didn't join. I think there was maybe Generalissimo Franco wasn't so keen on Hitler, or maybe he wanted to join. I can't quite remember. But Hitler might have had similar stances on to his attitude to Mussolini. I mean, he let Mussolini be a figurehead of the Axis powers in Italy. Another fascist leader, of course, at that time. I think it was something to the effect of he disliked the Spanish more because to him they were more closer to Arabs and black people. I think something along those lines. But maybe Franco could have actually joined, on the following Mussolini's demise, or failing that, there's other options. There's Edward VIII, who, there's a conspiracy around him being pro-Nazi, also known as Edward Saxe-Coburg, Edward Windsor, his real name Edward David. Vaguely Jewish-looking last name, which is actually quite funny. Hitler was supposed to be of 3/4 Jewish descent himself, so who knows? That's quite funny. But also the Brazilian president at the time, Vargas. I can't really remember his first name right now, but I'll put the references in the link. But also, that kind of ties into the whole book idea. Maybe call it, for example, possible working title right now, but call it the replacement axis. Or, for example, as like a off the cuff idea for the name of the book, where all those three replacements are somehow involved in the plot. So anyway, this was of course a Ruminations episode, and please remember to like, subscribe, comment, and thanks to that one viewer that that I've seen as of recording this video of the of my 57th vocal test. Yeah, so that's all there is to it. Just to end copper. That's probably a sign I should get out with the bath and eat. Anyway, cheers. So that's it for this Ruminations episode. Hope you find it interesting. Right. Greetings, everyone. This is Lee, the History Boy, and just coming at you with another Ruminations video, a history-based one, because I felt the need or the inspiration to do an actual recent history-based thing. Now, before we cut to the chase, you lot may have all seen the video I did on buffalo soldiers. Sorry, I'm outside in a corner. People milling about. So I get a bit of stage fright. I'll put the episode to that reference episode that in the description. But it's also partly the topic of this episode, and this is what I feel, and maybe you feel as well, overlooked groups and people, nationalities, whatever, in war films. Now, to start off with, the Buffalo Soldiers were active in all sorts of wars. They're an American group, those of you who don't know, who were originally they were white commandeered kind of mercenary army groups with Indians, Native Americans, whatever ethnicities, around Arizona and Texas, I believe. I'm foggy because I haven't rewatched that episode of mine in quite a while. And there's of course the most famous buffalo soldier. Yeah, getting off a bit of track. Eventually, they employed black African American blacks or whatever African American soldiers into those regiments and ragtag groups, and they took part in Indian wars and all the way to World War One. And Mark Matthews was the last one of the last living, or second to last living, something like that, African American buffalo soldier. And he died sometime in 2003, well over 100. So yeah, and then the second part is countries that were officially neutral in World War II, such as Spain, Uruguay, Switzerland, Montenegro, which was at one point weirdly a puppet state of Italy under Mussolini, but I don't think they were officially neutral. Also Austria, ironically enough, seeing as the war was started by an Austrian, technically. So yeah, I think my idea that I've just kind of come up with is maybe, well, to start off with, how would you make a series or film to do with buffalo soldiers in, let's say, World War One, and what would you, for example, make I suppose partly Uruguayan, Swiss, Austrian, Montenegrin, Spanish, World War II based drama about, because officially places like Uruguay and Spain and Switzerland were sort of involved through people's efforts to try and either get involved through mercenary work or like logistics, shipping. For example, there was a lot of logistics, shipping and waterway kind of, I guess, tension as far as the Uruguayans were concerned. I think I'm using that diminutive or whatever it is, right? Uruguayans. Anyway, I mean, I've got multiple nations that my channel reaches out to. So anyway, any South Americans in general, or Uruguayans, whatever, and so on, want to inform me of whether I'm correct about the diminutive, or whatever it's called, Uruguayans, Spanish, Swiss, that kind of, what you call it when you refer to a person of a nationality. So yeah, that's it for now. Sorry for all the stammering and stuff. Like I said, I'm not that you'll see it when I upload it, but I'm out in the street on my lunch break. I should be heading back soon. So yeah, just a bit of inspiration. Get some more, I guess you could say, video tally marks for my channel. So remember to like, subscribe, comment. I hope this made a, as cowboys used to say, lick of sense. Anyway, whatever. So yeah, this is Lee the History Boy signing off for today. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, I realised that, well, I kind of researched more into that. I kind of knew it a little. Austria was also a puppet state, like Montenegro in Italy, but the difference is Montenegro pushed for, or tried to push for, independence for about 2 years from 1941 to 1943. But the Reich stuff. All right, let's say, seeing as I've kind of said it in that river, Reich state, because Austria actually in its native language means Eastern Reich. I think that's nothing to do with the Nazis originally. It's just that the Reich the Reich term was just borrowed by Hitler, hence the Third Reich. But Austria was pretty much a puppet state. I don't think it officially got involved in any wars, but it pretty much was part of, Nazi Germany. So yeah, that's that little end of this video message, and yeah, that's all there is to it. Good evening, good night, good morning, wherever you are, depending on who's watching around the globe, potentially. And before I try to get some some surfing and more inspiration for book ideas and TV ideas, and well, mainly book ideas, but this Ruminations episode, and yes, it is time for that, the Ruminations series. This is going to be part of the Ruminations series, as I've already said. Circular rambling over with, and I was, ruminating. That's my Bentley the Yeti voice. If you've seen the thumbnail on my playlist of Ruminations, alas, there is time for ruminating. Spyro fans will get it. But this one is about, and I'm going to include, because I'm going to upload like a WAV file of my voice using the ever, I guess I'm loyal to it, but resourceful Converter.app. app. Do look that up. Those of you that are still to use it in your creative endeavors, and ones where you don't always want to upload your face and stuff. So yeah, this is going to be a bit of a hopefully quickish one about a guy that was addressed in Fun Facts episode 44, Henry the also known as Henri Beauclerc, Henry the Good Scholar, and that's the reason for one of the names of the title of, well, the screenshot of the title of one of the ideas that I screenshotted on one of my Word documents. I mean, both are in there, but you'll get the gist. In the words of the Spy Master, played, he grew on me, by Sasha Jawan, who was Rah Rah Rasputin in his latest episode. Did all the cheesy ABBA stuff, which was almost straight out of Pertwee, if ABBA around then. Anyway, digressing and shit. So yeah, I thought, and this is kind of an idea based off how they did foreign stuff in Vikings. They had some of the Saxons speak Icelandic as a basis for old English for some reason, but I think, for example, in the series about Henry, youngest son of William the Conqueror, that Jerry A, the heritage, I suppose the proud heritage language of the Channel Island of Jersey, which is sort of it's an Anglo kind of French thing based that descended from and is the closest living language to Norman French or slash Middle English as it went on later on into the 1200s or something. Um, but Jerry A would be the closest living. Uh, it's kind of still living. It's sort of like it's not exactly dead, but it's kind of the same. It's it's not in a too similar ballpark, too different ballpark as say Cornish, where people are trying to get people to, Cornish people trying to West Country people in general, I suppose, are trying to get more people by majority to speak Cornish, for example. A non-English language in a part of England, which is quite interesting. I'm not sure where the Channel Islands sit, how they feel, but that's individual and political and all that. But Jerry A, I looked at the pronunciation about 5-10 minutes ago, ish, whatever, where it is actually Jerry A. I thought it was Jerry, but I did look it up on in the on this channel, that I'm going to upload it to YouTube, of course. But I think for the proper authentic or near enough authentic um, where the TV series around at least Henry, the original, as it were, would they'd be chiefly speaking in Jerry um, with maybe some loan words in there from older Latin type Norman kind of scripture, I guess, but mainly Jerry I suppose, to make it authentic. Because I think all these, and this goes for things set in ancient Greece too. Why not have them just speaking Greek if you can, or some form of Italo Greek from Sardinia or whoever. I'm talking bollocks at this point. I mean, there is a reason, bollocks, but not bollocks. But yeah, and also, those of you who've seen the who end up seeing the second screenshot of the which is from my book ideas document. Do you think it would do better? And please do discuss. Anyone who cares, who gives a toss. Would you write it as a book first, personally, or would you do like a short, I guess, film, make it authentic somehow, and but mainly this was about the making the idea of ruminating an authentic Norman uh, historical drama, but them not actually speaking like modern English people, basically. I mean, there was a thing about with Rob Bell does all the history stuff, and is sometimes on abandoned engineering as well, which is a really good series. But he did one about the he did a documentary about the Plantagenets, which is the which are the descendants of William the Conqueror and William the First. I mean Henry the First and so on, or Plantagenet, to be precise. Where they had in the reenactments they had Henry the Second speaking some kind of French, for example. So yeah, there's reference to that too. So let me know what you think. Be sure to like, comment, Those that haven't subscribed yet, be sure to subscribe. It's up to you. I'm not pushing it. I'm just putting it in there. And this was a nighttime, well, for me, technically early hours, late nighttime Ruminations episode, and I will see you all later. Finidata. Hey up, it's History Boy, and just sort of getting ready for a bath. Been a sort of, I don't know, flood barrier day, I like to call it. Not exactly a wall, but very little success out of want of trying and efforts and all that shite about applications, and I'm sure a lot of you out there, even worldwide, know that it's just like, yeah, for example, LinkedIn, that needs to sort shit out with the broken links. I'm sure I'm not the only one, obviously, that has the issue. I used to think it was a mobile thing, but I think I tried logging onto a desktop computer one time, and it just decides to break links. But let's get on with the subject of the matter. The inspiration for this video came from from a YouGov survey I did about the EU and Brexit and Reform UK and all that crap. Before I get on with it, I actually used to sort of support Farage. I don't know. I'm on the fence about him. I'm still umming and ahhing of whether he'd be a good prime minister. I don't know, but Reform's very controversial. It's like how would I compare it? It says the honest, I guess some honest stuff. I mean, I follow politics from time to time. It's always Google News and stuff, and Yahoo News have a hard on for pushing, all that stuff. Like, it really, I mean, it does matter, but it's like, either show people for what they are, or just show people for what they are. None of this bloody either demonising and then ass kissing on the other side of the coin. It's like, come on, be honest. Maybe people would make better decisions if media corporations and newspapers and the like and so on and so forth didn't pussyfoot around for sensationalism. And but yeah, the survey I did, it was about the trade partnerships that the UK has, and used to have, the whole leaving the EU thing. I sort of agreed that it was a bad move. Majority, that's not an unpopular opinion, but there's another side. There's another side to this from my point of view. It's a pity that the UK didn't have stronger, trade unions and infrastructure built up before actually leaving. I'm not asked either way, but yeah. So yeah, I was a bit like, I'm going to say it again, on the fence about that too, or on the proverbial Berlin Wall if we're talking about the EU. But yeah, East and West Germany was a bad idea, I suppose. For example, I think actually Germany's economy is probably strong enough to not be part of the EU as well. in a lot of Scandi countries. Yeah, and this is probably maybe a bit weirdly controversial, but when I was doing the survey, I basically vouched that the UK should stay out of the EU. Build up its infrastructure somehow via to begin with the former connections it had, all the Commonwealth stuff like with India and even China. Hong Kong and Shanghai was quite a good thing, business wise and infrastructure wise. If I'm using that term right, it's a bit overused, isn't it? But despite and this, not to piss people off, but despite a lot of like urban India being a shithole, and the Medicare not being so good, for as far as I know. They've got a brilliant work ethic. They've got a good attitude to business, and the nod to the to the connections they had as a Commonwealth nation. Maybe independence was a bad idea, but that's another viewpoint for another, probably for another day. But yeah, and China, whether you agree with their attitudes and politics, if they or not, they know a good investment when they see it. Whereas it seems like the EU and Brexit can't really decide on what's best for either party, organisation, or whatever. So yeah, basically, end of the and this is the stealth type end of this episode of Knights of the Debate Table. Yes, it's one of them. I kind of came up with it on sort of impulse. But yeah, any fellow blighters out there / Northern Irish people, dependencies and etc. Yeah, do you? Yeah, so there's sort of some options that I'm kind of mulling over a bit from my attitudes on answering those YouGov surveys. Sorry if I'm stuttering a bit. It's been a bit of an annoying day, but whinge and so on and so forth. So the choice is build stronger connections with India and China as well. Not talking about like getting, for example, Hong Kong back or whatever like that. That doesn't really matter anymore. But then, because then there was the option of, on the survey, digressing a little bit, tiny bit, back to the YouGov thing. There was a choice of join the EU again, partnering with the US, Saudi Arabia, which I said, to excuse my incoming French, fuck no to Saudi and the US. So, and then there was the choice of India and China on some of the questions, and I picked for respectively, for the similar questions, India and China. That we should tap in more to India's side tap in more to the historical connections and the Commonwealth stuff and the trade stuff that goes with it, and then China, for example, again, their politics might be naff, and attitudes towards certain people's even in their own on their own doorstep is crap, but you can't deny that they were, there's a reason why some people call them the Jews of the Far East. They know a good investment and a business deal when they say it, and they stick with it for, in this case, for hundreds of years if they could. But yeah, so yeah, the choice being, what is it? Yeah, let's do the kind of lesser of two evils thing. It's evil-ish, not evil, but countries that get sort of a bad rap based on their economy and systems and stuff like that. So yeah, what was it? India and China. Which would you rely as on the UK front, being on the world stage and all the trade union stuff? Who would you find it more beneficial to partner with, India or China? So I think from my point of view, I would personally partner with India. I would establish more, because the only kind of connection we still have to it, minus some trade stuff, because trade is universal, international, but apart from the whole Commonwealth thing, it hasn't really fared well in economy, lifestyle wise in economy, I guess, for most of it, like the big. It's basically, if you're poor in a city, you're poor, and if you're in a village, you're poor. And you have to basically be lucky to be born with a silver spoon in your mouth, even now. But they get, weirdly enough, tons of infrastructure, their revenue through like tourism and trading products and stuff. But but with us and them, apart from the whole Commonwealth thing, it doesn't seem like there's many other important connections that we build with them. So yeah, my vote from my personal point of view would be to build stronger connections with India, and use those. I'm not a politician, so I might be yammering and talking out my ass, because I don't know political jargon. But yeah, establish stronger connections, business connections with India, due to ties and historical ties and etc. And the revenue you get from, like I say, they trade with pretty much all of the rest of the world with certain products, like basically, my opinion would be build stronger connections with India. I keep repeating myself because I keep thinking too hard. It's a problem I'm working on. To quote The Exorcist 3, that we should build up up or build back up strong ties with India, and then and before we can set out on our own, with the cutting ties, following the cutting ties of the EU and umming and ahhing about who to join. Basically, I think fuck joining with the US, fuck joining with Saudi, China maybe, but they've commercially they've got their hooks into a lot of pretty much everything. Scott's off similar with the US. Sadly, Canada wasn't a choice. Otherwise, I would have, unless there's enough ties with them so they'll help us out financially. God, that's a threatening thought, isn't it? Like Greece and Germany just before the Euro crap. But yeah, so basically, yeah, I'm just repeating it again for clarity. Build stronger connections with India or with China to help us build our trade unions, I guess, strength on the world stage. So yeah, if that made any sense, remember to like, subscribe, comment. Please do comment. It's called Knights of the Debate Table for a reason. And I'll see you in whatever next video I do. Ciao.